All right, guys and gals, this is Mike with Rolling With Us. Today we're going to be actually looking at an official solo adventure from the BX period called Lathan's Gold, but we are actually going to run this with original edition, 1974 style chainmail combat rules, since there's a lot of encounters that are large size encounters and I love rolling dice. Instead of using the diceless system, we're going to use a system that is a little more my style. Coming from a war game background, that is really what I want to do, is roll a lot of dice. And I want to roll a lot of D6 dice. So we're not going to see many D20 rolls in here. We're going to have many more D6 rolls and probably quite a few D6 rolls. So I want you guys to pull up your brandy, pull up your scotch. If you're like me, pull up your bourbon. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Thank you very much. Remember, I'm adult. I need you to like and subscribe so I can dolt this again. For the actual play and mapping, we will be using Owlbear. And Owlbear is a great little free app now that they've released the second edition that will allow us to use some of the maps from the Atlas of Mystara and actually kind of get a hex crawl feel going on while we're using this solo module. And so if you're not familiar with Owlbear, I will put some links into the description showing you where you can sign up for that and also where the tutorials are. Now those tutorials are really worth watching because there's some fun things you can do, and especially when it comes to the grids and creating the hex maps so that they're aligned to the actual Owlbear grid is something that you definitely want to watch a tutorial on, and it will make your life a lot easier than I made mine. For those of you that have not seen this module, the encounter table works a little differently than what we're used to. Typically, we'll be rolling a die and just taking an encounter off of that die roll. But in Lathan's Gold, you roll a die of a different size depending on what hex you're in. Even though this is not traditionally a hex crawl, there are codes to the area you are in the module. And say if you're in the ocean, you would roll a 1d8. And if we get a 4, there's times where we'll say, go ahead and add a 9 to that 4, so we get a 13. And if you see here, the 13 would tell us that we have mermen, which would be a 1 through 20 on the mermen number encounted, number appearing. And also important to note that there are leaders for each group as well. So every group will come with a leader. Now in the module, when you defeat the leader, morale is lost and the rest of the party leaves. I do not play that way, although I do have the leader failing, forcing a morale roll. If the leader actually dies, it forces a morale roll at a negative for the group that you're fighting. And so when we are playing, we will use this monster encounter list, and we will use some of the action table and action entries that it says to use, because there's some nifty things that can happen. Now, I do have a system that we might play sometime where we do use this morale, but to get the leader challenged, you actually have to go through, say, if we're talking about Medusas and there's a leader, you'd have to do a save against paralysis to be able to challenge the leader. And if you made it through that save, then you'd be able to fight the leader and kill her and drive off the party. Now, I like rolling dice, like I said, so we're gonna fight these groups, and we're going to enjoy the die rolling in the game. So that is how we're going to work the encounter system. We're going to use the table as is, and then we will use the rewards from this module that it gives you for defeat and conquest of these monsters.